Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this breaking news report from PJ Red Swan Enterprises newscast. My name is Dapter. After at least 15 minutes of intense research, our roving reporter in China, Mike Flex, has discovered the real cause of the coronavirus in Wuhan. It is now apparent that the source of the virus is the Type 4 lab in Wuhan, and not, as originally thought, the dodgy off-license next to the moist market of the same area. It has come to light that two individuals, who remain nameless, as we cannot pronounce their names, are responsible for this global catastrophe. A lab worker is known to have supplied his friend, a part-time taxidermist and entrepreneur, with the infected animals, in this case bats. It appears the plot runs as follows. The man on the outside of the lab, the entrepreneur, who had a line in selling to tourists stuffed Danish mink in terracotta army uniforms, was looking to acquire some bats for dinner. He was expecting his mother-in-law to arrive in the evening and was under some degree of social pressure to appease his in-law, an ex-weightlifting champion with an obscure connection to the Shanghai laundry mafia of Widow Twanky. More details of this panto connection will undoubtedly follow. He approached his friend, an animal hygiene management technician, in the lab to ask about getting some bats for the weekend. The local market, he reported, only had frozen honey badgers, pangolins and tripe left over. It happened that his mother-in-law's favourite dish was fried bat in sewer fat sauce, and his sole aim was to appease this occasionally violent woman by offering her his wonderful meal of fried bats. She often swore that her daughter had married beneath her station. So it came to pass that the lab worker arranged the meeting with his friend at the back door of the lab, and around 10 infected bats changed hands for approximately €10. This, however, is not necessarily ground zero as such for the virus outbreak that occurred later after the fatal meal. On that eventful evening, it was reported by neighbours and passers-by that the mother-in-law was heavily intoxicated and yelling profanities from inside the couple's apartment. In a drunken stupor, she came out onto the balcony and vomited down onto the street below, hitting passers-by and strafing the local fruit and veg store that happened to have some of its goods outside. Our intensive research with local dietitians and stomach expulsion experts has surmised that the bats were not exactly cooked through, this causing the virus to survive and spread with the lady's alimentary ejection. It remains, however, a mystery as to why the husband and daughter were not infected. This could be down to the participation within the local nudist scene in Wuhan, meaning a high natural intake of vitamin D, or even their consumption of homemade garlic schnapps, although that must be clinically tested to check for internal disinfectant properties. It is known that the infected mother-in-law left Wuhan the next day for a skiing holiday somewhere in Europe, and that airport CCTV pictures show her in a tightly buttoned trench coat that appears to be covered in snot, sneezing and coughing excessively. Although our investigative reporter Mike Stand has now left the Wuhan area for another assignment in Portland, Oregon, we are confident that he will return this month to keep us posted on the current situation in China. And now, the weather.